Your cabinet is forming stubborn tonight, oh. Come and help me, Jare.
Your names. In a hospital, corners cut people. It is not disrespectful to ask who is touching your relative. It is your right.
African Karma Stories.
Night settles over Ikeja like a heavy blanket, but inside the public hospital there is no real sleep. Fans groan on the ceiling, pushing hot air in slow circles. Generators rumble somewhere below. In the medical ward, metal beds line both sides of a narrow corridor, each one with a body, a story, and at least one relative fighting off exhaustion in a plastic chair. Nurse Adaeze Okafor, Ada to everyone here, sits at the nurse station, the glow from an old computer painting tired shadows under her eyes. Her fingers move through routine she could do half asleep, write vitals, recheck prescriptions, glance at the wall clock, listen for any sound that doesn't belong. It's past midnight. From the far end of the ward, he appears, Tunde, the night shift assistant. He walks like he owns the corridor, calm, unhurried, a clipboard tucked under one arm, a stethoscope he never really uses hanging loosely around his neck. He nods at a mother half asleep beside her child's bed, whispers something reassuring to an old man in the corner, adjusts a pillow without being asked. He looks like help. He looks like relief. Ada watches him move, just for a second. Weeks now he's been part of the night routine, the extra pair of hands who takes blood pressure when she's swamped, who runs to the lab, who tells relatives, "Don't worry, I'm here all night." Her eyes drop back to her notes. Then she hears his footsteps change direction. Instead of turning toward the patients, Tunde cuts across the corridor toward the small glass-fronted medicine cabinet at the end of the ward. The cabinet is set into the wall beside a solid metal door, a dull gray box with a little black scanner fixed under the handle. The cabinet is locked, always locked. Ada frowns. She isn't sure who needs what at this hour. She doesn't remember anyone asking. She raises her head again as Tunde stops in front of the cabinet, rolls his shoulders like a man about to do something routine, and reaches for his hospital badge. His ID hangs from a blue lanyard, same logo, same plastic sheen as everyone else's. His photo stares up, serious, competent, laminated proof that he belongs. He lifts it toward the scanner. A few relatives look up lazily, already used to the soft beep that means staff only. A woman by the window pulls her wrapper tighter around her, eyes half closed. Somewhere, a baby coughs, then settles. Tunde holds the badge steady and swipes. There should be a gentle tone, a small green light, a clean, forgettable moment. Instead, the scanner explodes into the silence. A harsh, high-pitched beep tears through the ward, sharp enough to make two patients flinch. On the scanner, a tiny LED light flashes, not green, but red, angry, insistent, pulsing like a warning. Error. Ada's pen freezes on the page. Every nerve in her body tightens as the sound drills into her skull. She stands up automatically, the chair scraping against the floor. Heads turn along the corridor, faces lifting from half-sleep. Someone mutters, "What is that?" The beep continues, loud and stubborn. Red, red, red. Tunde's hand is still on his badge. For a fraction of a second, his expression changes. Something tight, almost irritated, flickers across his face. Then it's gone. He smiles. "Ah, this thing again," he says, shaking his head, like it's an old joke. With a quick flick of his wrist, he pulls the badge back, taps the side of the scanner like it's misbehaving technology, and glances toward the nurse station. "Ada," his voice is light, easy. "Your cabinet is forming stubborn tonight, oh. Come and help me, Jare." The beep keeps going. Ada walks toward him, heart beating a little too fast. The closer she gets, the louder the sound feels, the more the flashing red light fills her vision. She presses the silence button on the scanner with a practiced thumb. The noise cuts out abruptly, leaving a ringing emptiness in its place. Behind her, the ward exhales. Relatives settle back. A few shake their heads. One young man jokes under his breath, "Nipa has even entered the lock now," and a ripple of tired laughter follows. Ada doesn't laugh. Her eyes go to the badge still hanging from Tunde's neck. "Why is it not opening for you?" she asks quietly. Tunde shrugs. Too casual. "System wahala. It does that sometimes. Maybe Zainab from IT is pressing something in her office again." He chuckles, like the idea of an invisible hand in the wires is funny. Ada's gaze goes to the scanner, then to the medicine cabinet behind it. Controlled drugs, high-risk meds, night shift traffic that's supposed to be traceable. "Have they not fixed your access?" she presses. Nurse Ada. You know how long it took before they fixed your own. Don't worry, just open for me. Dr. Kunle asked for extra analgesics for bed 7. The way he says Dr. Kunle is smooth, familiar, like he's been on the team for years. Ada hesitates. For a heartbeat, the whole scene hangs in the air. The cabinet, the badge, the man with the calm eyes and perfect answers. She remembers all the nights he has run around for her, the times he's picked up an IV line before she saw it, the way relatives say, "Where is that tall assistant? He's the only one who explains things." Her fingers move to her own badge almost on their own. She swipes. The scanner blinks once. Green. A soft, obedient beep sounds, the kind that usually fades into background noise. The mechanism clicks, and the cabinet lock releases. She swings the glass door open. For everyone else in the ward, the moment is over. The machine works again, the noise has stopped, the nurse is in control. Tunde leans in, reaching for the shelf with the pain medication, his voice already shifting back into routine. Thank you. You see, it's just the system." Ada steps aside, but something stays lodged in her chest. That first red blink, the sound that cut the night, the way his badge failed where hers passed. She says nothing because there is work to do, patients to turn, blood pressures to check. She takes the packet he hands her, signs her name in the logbook as the one who removed it, and walks it over to bed 7 herself. But as she moves down the corridor, she can still feel that small red light flashing somewhere in the back of her mind. A glitch, she tells herself, just a glitch. Yet when she sits back at the nurse station, she doesn't pick up her pen immediately. Her eyes go to the ward clock, to the cabinet, to the place where Tunde's badge was rejected like a stranger. Before tonight, she had no reason to question him. Before that red light, he was just part of the night. Now, even as the ward drifts back into its uneasy half-sleep, one question refuses to lie down. If the hospital's own scanner doesn't recognize this man, who exactly does? By morning, the hospital looks different, but only on the surface. Daylight softens the edges of the ward. Sunlight squeezes through dusty, louvered windows, painting thin lines across metal bed frames and faded curtains. Outside, horns scream along the Ikeja road. Inside, life is held together with tape and prayer. The night feels like another world, but the cracks that show under braid light are the same ones that let things slip in the dark. Ada moves between beds with practiced speed, a tray of medication cups balanced on her palm. Her body is here, but her mind still remembers that red flash from the scanner, the way the sound burrowed into the silence. She pushes it aside. There is no luxury for overthinking here. On bed 3, a frail woman lies on her back, eyes closed, her daughter fanning her with a folded piece of cardboard. On bed 11, a man with bandaged ribs winces every time he breathes, his brother massaging his feet, whispering encouragement. Every bed has someone, a mother, a son, a neighbor, because in this hospital, nobody can afford to be sick alone. Families form a second layer of care wrapped around the first. They hold water bottles to dry lips, they track medication times on their phones, they chase doctors down the corridor begging for updates. At night, they sleep sitting up, backs against metal rails, heads resting on stacked bags. Ada moves through them like a river around stones. "Please, nurse, when will doctor come?" a middle-aged man asks, rising from the edge of bed 6. "When they finish an emergency," Ada replies, not unkindly, not for the first time. "He's on call there, too. I will remind him." "How long again?" he insists. Ada catches his eyes, bloodshot, desperate, and her chest tightens. "Soon," she says quietly. "I'll try." He nods, because what else can he do? She walks on. At the far end of the ward near the entrance, Dr. Kunle presses his shoulder against the wall, half hiding a yawn behind his palm. His white coat is open, stethoscope looped crookedly around his neck. Dark circles sit under his eyes like permanent evidence. "Kunle, you still here?" another doctor calls as he hurries past with a file. "My house is this ward," Kunle mutters back. "Who needs rent when you can live in hospital?" They share a tired laugh that doesn't reach their eyes. Kunle pushes off the wall and steps into the corridor, eyes scanning beds. He checks a chart, adjusts an oxygen mask, scribbles a note. His phone buzzes. Emergency wants him back. "Just manage," he tells Ada as he walks past. "If anything is bad, call me. Otherwise, I'll be back after seeing 2 more in casualty." "Okay, doctor," she says. Manage, the unofficial policy. The ward was designed for maybe 20 patients. They have 32. Beds are squeezed into spaces that were never meant to hold them, near the hand-washing sink, beside the fire extinguisher, almost blocking the path to the toilet. Nurses should be 5 on a day shift like this. They have 3. By night, that number drops to 2, sometimes 1.5 if someone is floated to another ward. Under normal conditions, a hospital runs on protocols, checklists, chains of command. Here, it runs on improvisation. "So that assistant, Tunde, he's coming again tonight?" one of the junior nurses asks Ada as they rest for a breathless minute at the station. Ada's shoulders are tight, her eyes on a stack of charts. "He should," she says. The junior nurse sighs. "Thank God. Beg, I can't do another night like last Friday. I almost slept standing." Ada remembers Friday. Tunde taking blood pressures while she charted. Tunde lifting a patient from wheelchair to bed without waiting for backup. Tunde telling a frightened family, "I'll monitor him personally." She also remembers the red light. She says nothing. Across the ward, the glass door swings open again, and the air shifts around someone entering with authority. Flat shoes click softly against the tiles as nurse manager Nurse Adaeze steps in, her uniform pressed, her expression set in that familiar blend of concern and command. "Good morning," she announces, not loudly, but with enough weight that heads turn. "Good morning, ma," the nurses chorus. Relatives watch her too, with a mix of fear and hope. This is the person who can move mountains, or at least move doctors. Mrs. Adebayo walks the aisle slowly, eyes scanning, hands clasped behind her back. She notices the extra beds, the clusters of family members, the half-torn tape on a wall socket. She makes mental lists of problems she has no budget to fix. "How was night?" Ada answered. "Busy, ma. We admitted 4, 1 transfer from emergency. Oxygen almost finished, but they brought a new cylinder. Any incidents?" Ada opens her mouth, then closes it. The image of the red scanner light flickers in her mind. She hesitates. "Just 1 alarm from the medicine cabinet, ma. Scanner misread. I used my badge to open." Mrs. Adebayo frowns slightly. "Again? I've told IT to come and look at that thing. They will not hear." "Yes, ma," Ada replies. "Any medication errors, falls, relatives complaining?" "No, ma," Ada says. "Not yet." Satisfied for now, Mrs. Adebayo moves on, pausing to greet a few patients by name. She promises to check on one woman's lab results. She instructs a junior nurse to change a dressing that looks overdue. She carries the weight of the ward on her shoulders and the shadow of the administration on her back. Later, in her small office, her phone will buzz with messages from above: cut overtime, reduce consumable use, keep complaints quiet. For now, she just sees tired staff and frightened families. She also sees Tunde as a line item in her mental math, an extra pair of hands, an unofficial answer to an official problem. When he first arrived, it was at the end of another brutal evening. Sammy from HR had popped his head into her office, dropping the news like a favor. "Matron, I got one more temp for you for nights. Agency sent him, says he's very good, experience in 2 other hospitals." "Where's his file?" she asked. "I will send it," Sammy replied, already halfway back out the door. "Just use him for now. You know how nights are." She should have pressed. She knows that now. But that evening, with 3 nurses already in tears, 2 doctors threatening to resign, and patients stacked in the corridor, she only heard one thing: one more body to share the load. When Tunde first walked into the ward, lanyard around his neck, eyes steady, voice respectful, everyone breathed a little easier. He knew where to stand during handover. He used medical language correctly. He said "ma" and "sir" at the right times. He moved like someone who had done all this before. "Good evening, ma," he said to her. "I'm the new temp assistant. I'll help on night shift." And in that moment, between policy and panic, between what the manual says and what the ward needs, she chose to trust. Now, weeks later, no one remembers the exact day he started, only that things felt slightly more manageable when he did. At the nurse station, Ada leans on the counter for a moment, watching a family share a plate of jalap rice on a plastic stool. The older woman eats last, after feeding spoonfuls to her sick daughter first. She wipes the girl's mouth with the corner of her wrapper, brow furrowed with the constant question, is she getting better? In this world, trust is not abstract. It's in every handover note, every pill swallowed, every word a staff member says to a scared relative. "Take this, doctor wrote it. We are watching him closely. Don't worry, you are in good hands here." Ada has said those words so many times her tongue can form them without thought. She stares down at the pile of ID cards hanging on a hook behind the station. Names, photos, numbers. She knows them, recognizes them. Then her eyes drift to the corridor where Tunde had stood last night in front of the medicine cabinet, badge in hand. In a hospital like this, an extra helping hand is a blessing. It is also a perfect disguise. Because when everyone is drowning in work, when systems are stretched so thin they're almost see-through, the question changes from "who are you?" to "can you help?" And once someone proves they can help, nobody wants to slow down long enough to ask much else. As Ada picks up her pen again, filling in a vital signs chart, the truth hums under the noise of the ward, under the beeping monitors and murmured prayers. This place survives on trust piled on trust. One good man, one bad ID, one shortcut taken in an office far away from the beds. That's all it would take to turn that trust into a weapon. Then the ward phone rings, sharp and insistent, dragging her back. Night is coming again, and with it, the man whose badge already told her one thing the ward refuses to hear. Something about the help they've welcomed in does not belong. Evening swings back over Ikeja like a pendulum. By the time the sun slides behind the hospital's concrete bulk, the ward has changed clothes. Day staff sign out, visitor numbers thin, but they don't disappear. Fluorescent lights snap on, turning everything a harsh, humming white. Night is when the ward shows its true face. Ada stands at the nurse station as the junior nurse hands over. They run through the beds. Who was stable, who was restless, who made a noise when they shouldn't have. On her sheet, names and numbers blur into each other, but one detail stays sharp in her mind: the medicine cabinet, the red light. "Any issues with the assistant?" Ada asks casually, as if it just occurred to her. The junior nurse blinks. "Tunde? No, now. He even helped me chase lab for that man in bed 10. He's the only one that can get them to answer at night, I swear." Ada nods, not committing. The glass door at the ward entrance hisses open. Tunde steps in as if summoned by his own name. Tonight he wears the same dark trousers, the same plain shirt under a light coat. His lanyard rests neatly on his chest, ID badge turned outward, logo catching the light. He carries no bag, just a clipboard and that easy, practiced smile. "Good evening, my people," he calls. A few relatives glance up. One woman actually smiles back. "Good evening, sir." He walks down the aisle with the ease of someone returning home. At bed 12, he adjusts a tilted IV stand. At bed 4, he checks a cannula site, tisking gently. "They didn't secure this well. Let me help." At bed 7, where Chica's brother lies, he leans in to ask, "How are we feeling tonight, my guy?" Chica is there, perched on the edge of the bed, scarf tied tightly around her hair. She eyes him warily, but says nothing, for now. From her station, Ada watches him work. He doesn't rush, but he doesn't waste movement either. It's that balance only people who've done this for a long time have. He knows where the bedpans are, where the spare blankets hide, which plug to kick lightly when the fan refuses to turn. He speaks fluent hospital. "Doctor said we should monitor you closely," he tells an old man. "Matron approved your extra pain injection," he reassures a woman shifting uncomfortably. "We'll adjust your drip after ward round," he promises another. He never says, "I decided," always "they said." He lives in other people's authority. Ada's eyes narrow. Later, as she does her own round, she notices something small but sharp, a blank line on a chart where there should be a signature. Last night's vitals recorded in neat numbers, but no initials beside them. Earlier in the week, a medication ticked as given at a time she knows she was in another part of the ward. "Tunde, did you take blood pressure in bed 9 last night?" she asks as they pass each other. He nods, checking his clipboard. "Yes now, the woman was sweating. I wrote it on the chart." "I didn't see your initials." He smiles, self-deprecating. "Ah, Nurse Ada, forgive me. I forgot to sign. I was rushing. You know how everything is always pressing." He taps his temple. "Next time I will remember." "What about the codeine for bed 2 yesterday? Who gave it?" "Doctor prescribed it. I just helped carry it," he answers smoothly. "I don't give drugs, though. I'm not trying to lose my license before I even get permanent job." He laughs a little. He always laughs a little. His answers are perfect, too perfect, always just enough information to sound right, always one step away from full responsibility. At the station, another nurse calls, "Ogatunde, please help me change that oxygen cylinder. It's too heavy." "I'm coming," he says, pivoting away. As he turns, Ada sees it again. Whenever someone mentions rosters, sign-in sheets, or official rounds, he finds a reason to step aside. When doctors gather at the far end of the ward, he drifts just out of their circle, waiting until they're done before reappearing. When Mrs. Adebayo walks in for a brief evening check, Tunde suddenly finds himself near the back, repositioning a patient, face half turned away. If you weren't looking for it, you'd never notice, but Ada is looking now. Around 9 p.m., she finds him alone by the nurse station, flipping through a folder. "Which agency sent you again?" she asks, voice mild. He doesn't look up immediately. "You said you're a temp. From which agency?" "Ah," he smiles, closing the folder. "One small one in town. They use us all over, here, sometimes in private hospitals. Why?" "What is the name?" she presses. He chuckles. "You want to go and apply. I thought you liked government work." She doesn't smile. "What is the name, Tunde?" He leans on the counter, dropping his voice. "Nurse Ada, you know how agencies are. Today it's this name, tomorrow they change. They're just using us. Don't stress yourself. If you want extra money, I can link you. That's the main thing." That doesn't answer the question. Before she can push further, a relative appears, panic in his eyes. "Nurse, nurse, my mother is shaking. Come and see." Ada goes. By the time she turns back, Tunde is already halfway down the corridor, helping another family adjust their bedding, melting back into the endless needs of the ward. On paper, he is no one. In reality, he is everywhere. She can't point to one thing and say this is wrong. Not yet. All she has are small notes that don't match, a badge that failed once, a man who always seems to know a bit too much and care a bit too smoothly. The mask he wears is simple: competence, kindness, familiarity. It fits him so well that even Ada here, with her doubts, has to remind herself that she's not just being ungrateful for help she badly needs. But as midnight approaches and the ward sinks into its half-sleep again, she catches sight of him standing near the darkened medicine cabinet, his outline reflected faintly in the glass. He's looking at the scanner. His face is unreadable. For a moment, he lifts his badge, steadying it, the same card that screamed red a night ago. Then, as if feeling her eyes on him, he slips it back against his chest and turns away. The man who knows the ward like the back of his hand, the one everyone calls when they're drowning, is the only one whose hand she can't trace back to any door. And once you see a mask, you can't unsee the space where it might crack. The first crack is not loud. It doesn't come with a code blue or crash trolley. It starts in a quieter register, a sister who knows her brother too well to ignore small changes. It's late evening when Chika notices it. Her brother, Uche, has been on bed 7 for days. Typhoid complications, fluid imbalance, a roller coaster of fevers and shivers. She knows his patterns now, how he jokes when the pain medicine is working, how he stares at the ceiling when it isn't. Tonight, he isn't joking. He isn't staring either. He's drifting. "Uche," she says, tapping his shoulder gently, "wake up small. Talk to me." He mumbles something, eyes half opening, then sliding shut again. His hand feels heavier when she lifts it. A faint line of drool glistens at the corner of his mouth. Chika's stomach tightens. She looks at the drip line running into his arm. The clear bag above is almost finished, but the label catches her eye. The name of the drug, the dosage scribbled in hurried handwriting, something looks different. She frowns. She pulls out her phone, opens the gallery. She has photos of everything, his admission sheet, his first strip, the medicines the nurse showed her, the last chart when they adjusted his antibiotics. She compares the old picture to the new label hanging now. The dose is higher. A different handwriting. Her heart starts to race. She steps out into the corridor. The nurse station is occupied. Ada is busy on a call. Another nurse bent over paperwork. By the time Chika turns back, she sees Tunde at her brother's bedside, checking the roller clamp on the drip. "Excuse me," she says sharply, hurrying back in. "What are you doing?" Tunde looks up, expression calm. "Relax, sister. I'm just checking the flow. We don't want it to finish too quickly." "When did they change his medication?" she demands. "Who ordered this dose?" "Doctor," Tunde says easily. "Dr. Kunle. He said we should increase it. It will help him sleep and manage the pain." Chika glances at her brother, limp and heavy-eyed. "When did he say that? I was here when doctor came earlier. He didn't change anything." Tunde gives a small, indulgent smile, like he's humoring a child. "Not everything is written immediately. He gave verbal order later. Don't worry, we know what we are doing." The words sting. We know what we are doing. "Which doctor exactly?" she pushes. "I want to hear from his mouth." He straightens, eyes hardening just a fraction. "Sister, this is hospital. We are following protocol. You want to start arguing medication with us now?" Before she can answer, Ada appears at the end of the row, her face drawn with fatigue. "What's happening here?" she asks. Chika turns to her like a lifeline. "Nurse, please, did doctor change his medicine? Look at this thing. It's not the same as before." Ada steps closer, taking the drip bag in her hand. She reads the label carefully, lips moving silently over the name and dose. Her brow furrows. "This is stronger than before," she says. "I told her doctor ordered it," Tunde interjects. Ada looks at him. "When?" "After evening review," he replies. "He said the patient is too restless. He gave verbal order. I helped to hang it." "Which doctor?" Ada's voice is flat. "You know now, Dr. Kunle." Ada's mind runs through the timeline. She was with Kunle during the last formal round. No mention of dose changes. After that, he went to emergency. He hasn't been back. "Was it written in the chart?" she asks. "I am on my way to update it," Tunde says smoothly. "I just came to check him first." Chika's eyes flick between them. "Please, nurse, check the chart. Don't let them just be changing things like that." Ada nods, jaw tight. "Wait here." At the nurse station, she pulls Uche's file from the stack, flips through the pages, morning orders, afternoon notes, the last recorded plan from Kunle, maintain current dose, monitor vitals, review in the morning. No new order, no additional signature. She feels a cold line run down her spine. She looks at the time on the last entry, cross-checks it with her own memory. There is a gap where Tunde's story is supposed to fit, an empty space that should hold a doctor's name but doesn't. She grabs her small notebook, her personal shadow of the official record, and scribbles quickly. Bed 7, new dose, label photo, time, Tunde's claim. When she returns to the bedside, Chika is pacing. "Nurse?" Chika's voice cracks. "There is no written order for this new dose. Doctor hasn't documented any change." Tunde exhales, annoyed now. "You are behaving as if written comes before saving life. Doctor said we should do it. You want me to call him at this hour just to write? He will shout for nothing." "Then we'll let him shout," replies Ada, "because if something goes wrong, it will be my name in that chart, not yours." They stare at each other, the air between them tightening. Chika's brother shifts, a low groan escaping his throat. His breathing is slow, a touch too shallow for Chika's comfort. "What is happening to him?" she demands. "He was talking before, now he's just sleeping like this." Ada checks his pulse, his pupils, the rate of the drip. Her training hums in the back of her brain, calculating risks. "We are going to slow this down," she says, adjusting the roller clamp until the fluid drips slower, "and I will call the doctor to confirm this dose." Tunde opens his mouth to protest, then clamps it shut. He forces his face back into something like calm. "No problem," he says hastily. "Call him. I was only helping. Don't put trouble on my head, please." He steps back, hands raised, as if distancing himself from the entire situation. Chika doesn't take her eyes off him. "I saw you writing on his chart earlier," she says suddenly. "I took a picture." She holds up her phone. "If anything happens to him, I have your face, your name, everything." Something flickers in Tunde's eyes then, irritation, calculation, but it's gone in an instant. He gives a small nod and slips away down the corridor, disappearing into the shadows of other beds. Ada feels the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. A wrong dose, an absent signature, a claim that doesn't match the timeline. This is no longer about a helpful assistant and a stubborn scanner. This is about the line between authorized care and quiet interference, and how easily it can be crossed in a ward that no one is really watching. As she reaches for the ward phone to call Kunle, one thought presses harder than all the others. If Tunde can change a drip without a doctor's pen on paper, what else has he already changed that nobody saw? The next afternoon, the ward's noise stays behind as Ada steps into the narrow corridor leading to the nurse manager's office. Here, the air feels thicker. The fluorescent light above flickers just enough to be annoying. On the walls, faded posters about hand hygiene and infection control peel at the corners. Ada pauses at the door with the small, frosted glass window. "Come in," Mrs. Adebayo calls before she even knocks, as if she can sense the hesitation. Inside, the office is cramped but ordered. A metal filing cabinet leans slightly to one side. A desktop computer hums on the desk, its wallpaper frozen on the hospital logo. A ledger book lies open beside it, its ruled lines filled with neatly written names and shifts. "Sit," the matron says, looking up from her paperwork. Ada sits. They both know why she's here. It's written in the tight line between Ada's brows, in the way she's twisting her hands together. "You said there was an issue with medication last night?" Mrs. Adebayo prompts. "Yes, Ma," Ada says. "Bed 7, the assistant, Tunde, hung a higher dose than what doctor ordered. He said it was a verbal instruction. There was nothing in writing." "You spoke to the doctor?" the matron asks. "Yes, Ma. He said he gave no such order. He was an emergency. He hasn't seen that patient since afternoon." A vein jumps lightly in the matron's forehead. "Anything happened to the patient?" "No, Ma," Ada answers. I slowed the drip and called doctor. He came to review. The boy is stable now. So you caught it. The matron lets out a slow breath. Good. She leans back in her chair, fingers steepled. But this, she continues, this is not the first report I've heard this week. She flips her notebook open, taps a line with her pen. A relative said their father's nighttime medication was changed by the tall assistant. One woman swore someone gave her mother extra sleeping medicine without telling the nurse. Ada's chest tightens. It might all be misunderstanding, the matron says, but her tone doesn't sound convinced. I don't think it's misunderstanding, Ma, Ada replies quietly. His badge failed on the medicine cabinet 2 nights ago. It flashed red, loud alarm. My own opened it. That scanner has been misbehaving, the matron says reflexively. Maybe, Ma, Ada allows, but I checked today. His name is not in any of the medication access logs. Mine is, the others are. His is not. Silence settles between them like dust. Finally, the matron turns to her computer, jaw tightening. What is his full name? Tunde Bakare, Ada says. The matron types into the HR portal search bar, Bakare. A list of staff appears, doctors, cleaners, nurses. No Tunde. She narrows it to Tunde. 1 Tunde on maternity ward, 1 in maintenance, none on medical ward, none with Bakare attached. She clicks over to the digital roster. Night shifts for the last month load slowly, the old system wheezing as it processes. Names scroll down the screen, boxes shaded for nights and days. No Tunde. She pulls the physical roster book closer, flipping pages. Each line holds a nurse's name and orderly schedule. Again, carefully written. Again, no Tunde. Maybe HR didn't update, she says under her breath. She picks up the phone and dials an internal extension. Sammy, she says when the voice answers. That extra night assistant you sent me, the one from the agency, what's his full file name? A pause, paper rustling on the other end. One of the temps now. You mean that tall one? Yes, Tunde something. His file is there. Agency submitted. I can't find his name on our roster or HR system, the matron says. Send me his file. I will check and send, Sammy replies quickly. Maybe it's still in processing. You know IT and HR, they are slow. Send it, she repeats, her voice cool. Today. She hangs up before he can soothe her with more vague words. Ada sits very still. Ma, if he's working here, he should be in the system, she says softly. Yes, he should, the matron agrees. On the wall, a framed document sits slightly crooked. Hospital staff policy. Clear lines in bold letters. All staff must be credentialed. All staff must be identifiable. All clinical staff must be traceable through HR records. It's the official story. Hospitals are safe. Hospitals know who is on their wards. The person touching your drip is someone the system can name. The gap between that framed promise and the empty search result on the screen is vast. Maybe it's just delay, the matron says, but the words taste like something she doesn't believe. We are short-staffed. We rely on agencies. Sometimes paperwork lags. But he has an ID, a badge, with the logo, with his face. That ID office doesn't print from thin air, the matron replies, more to herself than to Ada. Somebody requested that badge. Somebody approved it. They look at each other. Ada feels a slow anger begin to rise, not just at Tunde, but at the cracks that let him slide through. This hospital tells the public we control everything, we vet everyone, we own every decision. But in the cramped heat of this office, surrounded by half-working computers and an overstuffed filing cabinet, the truth peeks out. Control is a story everyone agrees to believe, until something or someone refuses to fit. I'll call IT, the matron says, reaching for the phone again. If he's in the building, he's in their logs. Machines don't forget like people do. Ada stands to leave. Her hand rests on the back of the chair for a second. "Ma," she says, voice low, "if families believe we know who is touching their relatives, they don't check badges. They see scrubs. They trust." The matron's eyes soften just a little. "I know," she says. "That's why we have to be sure before anyone else starts asking questions we can't answer." As Ada steps back into the corridor, the sounds of the ward rush back over her, the coughing, the monitors, the murmured prayers. Relatives look up as she passes, their eyes full of the same unspoken plea. "You know what you're doing, right?" Outside, the hospital signboard still shines, promising quality care and professional staff. Inside, in a screen's empty search bar, that promise has already cracked. And as IT is about to show them, one blinking red light was not an inconvenience. It was a warning. The IT office sits 2 floors down from the ward, in a corner of the building most patients never see. Narrow corridor, old posters about cybersecurity no one reads, a humming air conditioner that works only when it feels like it. In the small room at the end, cables snake behind desks stacked with routers and dusty keyboards. Zainab Musa sits hunched over a computer, blue light reflecting off her glasses. Her braids are tied back, out of the way. On her desk, a mug of cold coffee stands guard beside a tangle of USB cables. She is halfway through troubleshooting a network glitch when the knock comes. "Come in," she says without looking up. The door opens. The matron steps in, Ada behind her. "Zainab," the matron says, "we need your help." Zainab groans softly. "If it's the ward Wi-Fi again, I swear." "It's not Wi-Fi," the matron cuts in. "It's access control, badge issues." That gets her attention. She swivels her chair to face them fully. "Which door?" she asks. "Pharmacy? Theater?" "Medicine cabinet on medical ward," Ada answers. "It screamed error when one staff tried his badge, then worked when I used mine." Zainab raises an eyebrow. "You sure it's not the scanner itself?" "I'm not," the matron says. "That's why we're here. I want you to pull the logs, check the badge number, see who it belongs to." Zainab holds out her hand. "Show me the badge." Ada reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small plastic card on a blue lanyard. After the second incident, with the wrong dose, the missing order, she'd asked Tunde to leave his badge for reactivation. She'd said it with professional calm, hiding the racing in her chest. He'd hesitated, then handed it over, insisting, "I didn't do anything wrong." But he gave it because refusing would have been louder than compliance. Now the badge lies in Zainab's palm. Hospital logo, name, Tunde Bakare, photo of his face, unsmiling. Underneath, a small printed number and a barcode. Zainab flips it over, reading the serial number aloud. "Okay, let's see who you really are, Mr. Bakare." She types into her system, fingers rapid, hitting keys with the confidence of someone who lives in data. The access control software loads, a dashboard of doors, times, badge IDs. She inputs the badge number, hits enter. A profile pops up. She murmurs. "Interesting." "What?" the matron asks. "This badge number is assigned to..." She leans closer. "Okay, not to Tunde Bakare, to Okon Sunday." "Who is that?" Ada asks. "Was," Zainab corrects. "Former orderly, resigned 3 months ago." She clicks through the profile. "Badge deactivated the week after you left," she reads aloud, "but then reactivated again 1 month ago?" "Who reactivated it?" the matron demands. Zainab scrolls to the activity log. User, HR Temp Admin. Her eyes narrow. That's one of Sammy's group accounts. They use it to enable badges for temp staff. So the badge is officially Okon's, but it was turned back on without changing the name. Or they changed the name somewhere else and didn't update here. Either way, this is messy. She clicks to a different tab. Let's check where this badge has been. On the screen, a list of timestamps appears, each line showing a door, a date, a time, a status. Green for success, red for error. Zainab scrolls, her eyes moving quickly. Look at this, she says, pointing. Last night, 0017 hours. Attempt on medicine cabinet door. Status denied. Error, insufficient permission. That's when the alarm went off, Ada says quietly. And 5 seconds later, Zainab continues, another badge opened it successfully. That would be yours, Ada. See? Different ID, same door, timestamp just after. Ada feels a chill. The machine remembers what the night almost swallowed. Any other denied attempts? The matron asks. Zainab scrolls further back. Yes, she says. 2 days ago, same badge tried to open pharmacy side door. Denied. Yesterday morning, attempted staff entrance to records. Denied. But look here. She clicks on a cluster of entries. This badge successfully opened the main staff entrance multiple nights in a row. But cross-check this with CCTV. She pulls up another window, logging into the camera system. The grainy feeds from different angles flicker into view. She selects the camera pointed at the staff entrance, types in a date and time from the access log. On the screen, they watch the staff door, 11:02 p.m., timestamp. The log says, door opened, badge accepted. The video shows nothing, an empty doorway, no one entering, door not even moving. Zainab rewinds, plays it again, still nothing. Run another one, the matron says tightly. Zainab picks a different entry, different day, same door, log, door opened at 4:37 a.m. Video, silent hallway, closed door. This doesn't make sense, Ada whispers. Or it makes too much sense, Zainab replies, jaw clenched. Someone is playing with the system. She explains, more to the matron than to Ada. If you have admin access, you can simulate a badge being used, make it look like a card opened a door when it didn't, or you can attach someone else to a badge number and never clean up the trail. The badge is Okon's, the matron repeats, but Tunde is using it. And the logs are contradicting the cameras. Either the system is compromised or someone wrote fake entries to make movements look legitimate. She leans back, rubbing her temples. This is not small. It's not just one error beep. It's an identity problem. Ada swallows. So officially, the system thinks this badge belongs to someone else, but physically it belongs to Tunde. Yes, Zainab confirms, and the person who reactivated it used a generic HR temp account. That means it could be anyone in that little circle, no individual name, no single finger to point at. The matron's face has gone hard. I trusted that when I see a badge, it means HR has done their job, she says slowly. Now you're telling me a ghost can walk into my ward wearing another man's identity and the computer will nod along. Zainab nods toward the screen, where the red and green entries glow. The logs don't care about your trust. They only care about numbers. And right now, the numbers are telling a story you can't sweep under the rug. Ada feels the point of no return settle into place. Before this, it was suspicion, human error, maybe a misunderstanding. Now there is proof that the system meant to control access has been bent out of shape. A badge that should be dead is alive. A man who should be traceable is a digital shadow wearing another man's skin. What do we do now? Ada asks, her voice barely above a whisper. The matron straightens, shoulders squaring. Now, she says, we find out who gave him the key. Because Tunde didn't conjure a badge out of the air. Someone inside this hospital opened the door, then pretended not to see who walked through it. Sammy Easy is sweating before they even sit down. They meet him in a small meeting room near HR, a windowless box with a long table, mismatched chairs, and a ceiling fan that spins lazily, moving more noise than air. On one side of the table, Mrs. Adebayo, posture straight, face unreadable. Beside her, Zainab with a laptop open, ID logs ready. At the end, Ada, quiet, notebook in hand. On the other side, Sammy. He tugs at his collar, forces a smile. Matron, IT madam, he says. I hope it's not that my email again. Network is. This is not about network, the matron cuts in. It's about an ID badge you reactivated last month using the HR temp admin account. Zainab turns the laptop toward him. On the screen, the log entry glows in clear text. Badge 0148, reactivated, user HR temp admin. And the staff using that badge now, she continues, is someone not in the HR system at all. Sammy laughs nervously. You know how this our system is. Sometimes the names. Which agency sent Tunde Bakir here? The matron asks, her voice like a scalpel. He blinks. I told you now, temp care services. They send us people all the time. We sign, they send. Simple. Show us the contract, she says. The list of temps they provided, the one with his name on it. He hesitates, glancing at the laptop like it might offer a way out. Sammy, Zainab says, softer but firm. Open your email. He sighs, pulls out his phone. No, she says, on the system. Log into your official mail now. A few keystrokes later, his inbox appears on the screen. Hundreds of unread messages, threads with subject lines like REE temp staff request and urgent coverage needed. Search temp care, the matron instructs. He does. A string of emails appears. Monthly invoices, availability lists, scanned forms. Zainab clicks one from around the time Tunde first walked into the ward. A PDF opens. Temp staff list. Names, ID numbers, proposed shifts. Ada leans in. They scroll. No Tunde. Another email later that week. We can provide one extra night orderly if you approve payment. Attached. No detailed list this time, just a line. Extra night staff as discussed. 50,000 naira. Where is the name? The matron asks. Sammy forces a chuckle. You know these people. Sometimes they just send person. We fill later. It's rush. You needed night cover. I arranged. That is my job now. Your job is to ensure everyone walking into that ward is documented, the matron says, her temper starting to show. Where is his ID copy, his license, his file? We were going to complete it, Sammy stammers. Agency said they will send. He started working already. I didn't want to disturb you when you were begging me for staff. Ada flinches at the truth in that last line. She remembers that night, the silent plea in her own voice. We need help. The badge, Zainab says, bringing up another window. Why did you reactivate this particular badge, Ocon Sundays? Sammy shifts in his seat. IT temp unit asked us to. You used my group account, Sammy, Zainab cuts in. I checked. No one from my team did this. Only HR can log in as HR temp admin. He wipes sweat from his upper lip. Look, he says, leaning forward, voice dropping. Sometimes, to make things move, we reuse an old badge. Agency brings someone, we don't have time to wait for printing. We assign them to an existing ID, update the name later. It's not ideal, but you people are always shouting for staff. Sammy, give us temp. We don't care how, just give. Did you update the name later? The matron asks, each word sharp. He opens his mouth, then closes it. Zainab clicks to the badge profile again. Name in the system is still Ocon Sunday. No trace of Tunde anywhere. You gave a living person a dead man's badge and never cleaned the record. It's just a name in the system, he protests weakly. He was working fine. Until he wasn't, Ada said quietly. Sammy looks at her confused. He altered a patient's medication without authorization. He claimed a doctor gave a verbal order that never existed. He is writing on charts he has no right to touch. Your Jata name could have killed someone. Sammy's eyes widen. No, he's just supposed to help, move patients, run errands. I told the agency that. I didn't say he should touch any. You told the agency, the matron interrupted, but you didn't tell us. You didn't send his credentials. You didn't verify his training. You didn't even confirm if Tunde is his real name. Silence. In that silence, the entire chain becomes visible. An agency eager to supply cheap labor, an overworked liaison happy to accept a body instead of a file, a ward gasping for extra hands, and a man like Tunde slipping perfectly into the space greed and pressure carved out for him. Zainab scrolls further down Sammy's inbox. What's this? She says, clicking on a WhatsApp web preview. Up on the screen pops a chat thread. At the top, Temp Care Rep. Messages scroll by. Temp care. Bro Sam, we sit add one extra guy for night if you fit package 'em. No need to disturb HR Oga. We settle you small. Sammy, a beg, just bring someone that can work. No wahala. We go write the rest later. Temp care. Sure, I go send 'em tonight. Badge fits sort later. Use any extra way day. Sammy, okay, just make sure the guy no dull. Warden no get strength for learner. The matron reads it once, then again. We settle you small, she repeats. What does that mean, Sammy? He raises his hands. It's just grammar. They like to talk big. Show the next messages, orders the matron. More lines. Temp care. Sent. Tall guy named Tunde. He sabi work. You go like him. Make sure yo en shuro. Sammy. No shakin'. I don't get alert. We talk later. On the table, the fan drones on, pretending this room is a furnace. Ada feels a sick twist in her gut. It's not just desperation that opened the door. It's money. Small, dirty money passed quietly from an agency to an HR liaison who thought efficiency mattered more than process. Sammy sinks back in his chair, shoulders slumped. Everybody is doing it, he says weakly. We don't have budget. They won't approve official temps, so we manage. We find our own way. At the expense of people on those beds, Ada says. At the expense of our entire system, Zainab adds. Greed in this story is not dramatic. It's not suitcases of cash or luxury cars. It's one man too tired to argue, too tempted to refuse a small something, too sure nothing bad will happen, until something almost does. The matron closes the laptop gently, as if any sudden movement might shatter what little composure is left. Sammy, she says, voice low, from today you are suspended from all temp staffing decisions. Hand over your files and your phone to administration. There will be a formal inquiry. He stares at her stunned. Matron, please, you know how things are. You were only cutting corners, and in a hospital, corners cut people. He looks at Ada, at Zainab, as if searching for an ally. No one looks back. In this small room, the aperture of blame widens from Tunde's badge to Sammy's choices to the silent demands of a system that wanted cheap hands more than it wanted safe ones. The evidence is no longer a feeling. It's on the screen, in the chat logs, in the badge history. Tunde didn't hack his way into the ward. He walked through a door that greed and pressure built together, and they handed him a badge as a welcome gift. The conference room smells of stale air and anxious sweat. A long, polished table stretches from one end to the other, flanked by black chairs that spin a little too easily. On the wall, a projector screen hangs blank, waiting. A jug of water and mismatched glasses sit untouched at the center. At the head of the table sits Chief Medical Director Ibrahim Salami. His gray hair is neatly trimmed, his tie is perfectly knotted. He looks like the picture of control, but his eyes are tired in a way that has nothing to do with age. On one side, Mrs. Adebayo, shoulders squared. Zainab, laptop open but dimmed. Dr. Kunle, coat draped over the back of his chair, arms crossed, jaw tight. Ada, further down, notebook in front of her, pen still. On the other, head of HR, lips pressed thin. A hospital lawyer, silent but present, an empty chair where Sammy should be. The CMD clears his throat. Let us be clear about why we are here, he begins. A non-credentialed individual has been working night shifts on our medical ward for several weeks. He possessed a hospital ID badge tied to a former staff member's account. He accessed controlled areas. He interacted with patients. This is a serious breach. He says the words like he's reading them off an invisible script. We have contained the situation, HR cuts in quickly. The individual has not reported to duty since questions were raised. We have disabled the badge. No major adverse outcome has been reported. No major outcome yet, Kunle says, his voice edged. We don't know what he's done that hasn't surfaced. The CMD holds up a hand. We will get to that, Dr. Kunle. He turns to Zainab. Present the system findings. She connects her laptop to the projector. The screen flickers to life, displaying the same logs she showed in her office: badge histories, access attempts, denied entries, fake-looking door openings with no corresponding video movement. In summary, she says crisply, badge 0148, assigned to former staff Okan Sunday, was reactivated under the HR temp admin account and used by a man identifying himself as Tunde Bakare. There is no HR file for this name. The badge was used to enter staff areas multiple times and attempted access to pharmacy and records. CCTV footage contradicts some log entries, suggesting manual manipulation or misuse of admin privileges. And the medicine cabinet incident? The lawyer asks, taking notes. Documented, Zainab says. Denied access at 0017, followed by successful access using Nurse Adaeze's badge. This matches witness accounts. The CMD nods slowly. Matron, he says, turning to Mrs. Adebayo, you confirmed this individual was working nights under your supervision. Her eyes flash. I confirmed that I was informed by HR liaison that a temp assistant would cover night shifts. I was not given proper documentation. I was not told the badge was reused. I saw a man in uniform with an ID card I assumed had been vetted. Assumed, HR echoes quietly. If HR gives me a person and a badge, is that assumption or procedure? Silence again. Dr. Kunle, the CMD says, any clinical concerns? Kunle leans forward, steepling his fingers. I reviewed my notes against nursing charts for the last week. I found at least 3 instances where interventions were carried out without my documented orders, and relatives reported the assistant reassured them it was on my instruction. Including the medication in bed 7, Ada adds. Yes, Kunle agrees, and another in bed 10. I did not give those orders. Someone used my name to legitimize unauthorized changes. And yet, HR interjects, no permanent harm? You don't measure harm only in deaths, Kunle snaps. You measure it in risk, in how close we came to something we can't take back. The CMD exhales through his nose. And what of HR's role? He asks, looking down the table. The HR head shifts. We rely on agents like Sammy to liaise with external temp agencies. In this case, he did not follow full protocol. Names were not properly entered. Badges were not correctly issued. We regret the oversight. Oversight is a gentle word, Zainab mutters. The lawyer clears his throat. We need to think of reputational risk. If this leaks to the press or social media, the headline writes itself. Fake staff treating patients in government hospital. The public will not care about system nuance. They will want a head. All the more reason to control the narrative, HR says quickly. We remove the individual, discipline the internal staff responsible, tighten procedures, and keep communication internal. There is no need to alarm patients or families unnecessarily. Ada's fingers clench around her pen. Families have already been alarmed, she says quietly. Some of them complained. Chica, bed 7's sister, knew something was wrong. They already trust us less. Pretending everything is fine will not make that trust come back. This is not about pretending. This is about protecting the institution. With respect, sir, the matron says, voice steady, what is the institution without the people in those beds, without their trust? If they find out we hid this from them, the damage will be worse than any headline. Zainab nods. The logs exist. The badge record exists. If one screenshot goes outside, we can't deny any of it. Better to be seen fixing it than hiding it. The lawyer looks at the CMD. We can issue a controlled internal memo acknowledging procedural irregularities and announcing new verification steps without detailing every failure. And what of Sammy and the agency? Sammy has admitted to reusing badges and accepting unofficial payments, the matron says briskly. Suspend him, investigate, report to the board. As for the agency, cancel contracts, blacklist them. And the man himself? This Tunde? Gone, Ada says. He hasn't been back to the ward since we took his badge. He probably saw the questions coming. So he walks away? Kunle asks bitterly. Just like that? The CMD looks down at his clasped hands. We can file a report with the police, he says slowly, but without official employment records, without a verified identity, the case will be weak. We don't even know if Tunde Bakare is his real name. Right now, the strongest action we can take is closing every door he used. He looks up, meeting each of their eyes in turn. I will authorize a full audit of all staff IDs and access rights, effective immediately. All badges will be re-verified. No temp staff on night shifts without complete documentation. All group admin accounts will be reviewed and limited. HR, you will present a corrective plan to the board in 1 week. And the families? Ada asks again. The CMD pauses. We will not make a public announcement, he decides, but we will empower ward managers to hold small meetings with relatives to explain new verification procedures. Focus on what we are doing now, not what happened then. We cannot reopen every wound. We must move forward. It's a compromise, not full transparency, not full silence. Enough to say we are fixing it, not enough to say we failed you. For Ada, it feels like a thin bandage over a deep cut, but she also knows the reality of this place. Too many scandals, not enough room for one more without something breaking that cannot be mended. The CMD stands, signaling the end. This does not leave this room beyond what we decide, he says. We will protect our hospital, and we will try to deserve the trust people still give us, whether we earned it or not. One by one, they rise. As they file out, Ada feels a strange mix of relief and frustration. They are doing something, they are not doing everything. The institution is choosing survival, and she is part of it whether she likes it or not. But as she steps back toward the ward, she knows there is one place where the script can be different. Not in conference rooms, but in quiet corners, where the people who were almost harmed get to hear the truth from the ones who almost failed them. The side room off the ward used to be a storage space. Now, for a few hours, it becomes something else, a confessional, a meeting point, a small attempt at honesty. The fluorescent tube above buzzes faintly. 2 wooden benches face each other. A small table in between holds a jug of water and plastic cups. The door is half closed, cushioning the sounds from the main ward, beeping monitors, rustling wrappers, distant cries. Ada sits on one bench, hands folded in her lap. Beside her, Mrs. Adebayo looks like she hasn't slept properly in days. Her uniform is immaculate, but there are new lines around her eyes. Across from them, Chika sits with her arms crossed, leaning forward. 2 other relatives share the bench with her, a man whose father was on bed 10, a woman whose mother complained of that tall assistant changing her night pills. They weren't chosen at random. They were the ones who asked the most questions. "Thank you for coming," the matron begins, voice measured. "We wanted to speak to you directly, not through rumors, not through half-truths in the corridor." Chika's jaw is tight. "I only came because Nurse Adaeze said it was important." Ada meets her eyes. It is. The matron takes a breath. "We discovered," she says slowly, "that someone working on the ward at night did not have complete authorization and proper registration. He was helping with care, but he was not fully cleared to do so." She doesn't say Tunde's name, but they all picture him. "The tall assistant," the man from bed 10 says flatly. Ada nods. Yes. Chika's chair scrapes a little against the floor as she shifts. "So when I said something was wrong with my brother's drip, when I said he changed it without asking," her voice cracks, "I was right?" "Yes," Ada says quietly. "You were right to question. You were right to be angry." Chika looks at her brother's nurse, at the matron, searching for some sign that this is not just spin. "Is he a real health worker at all?" she demands. "Did he finish school? Did he work elsewhere? Who is this man you put in our lives?" The matron's shoulders sag a fraction. We don't know everything, she admits. We know an agency sent him. We know he had some hospital experience. We also know he was given a badge in a way that broke our own rules. You people didn't check, the older woman on the bench says, voice trembling. You just saw uniform and allowed him to touch our mothers, our fathers. It is my job to check, the matron replies, eyes glistening, and I failed to see what was missing. I am not here to defend that. Silence presses against the windows. Ada clears her throat softly. When his badge failed on the medicine cabinet, she says, I felt something was wrong. I didn't react fast enough. I opened the cabinet for him. When he changed your brother's medication, Chica, you forced me to look closer. You were the one who made me see the full picture. Chica blinks, taken aback by the admission. We always tell you to trust us, to let us work, but trust is not one way. You saw something and you did not keep quiet, even when we tried to reassure you. That helped save him. The man from bed 10 swallows hard. My father, he complained that the tall one told him to take some tablets at night that made him too weak. I thought he was just adjusting. I didn't argue. I didn't know I could. You can, the matron says firmly. From now on, you must. She reaches under the table and pulls out a small stack of laminated cards. On each one, in simple language, are 3 questions printed in bold. What is your name and role? Can I see your hospital ID? Who is your supervising nurse or doctor? On the back, a line. If you are not satisfied with the answer, you can ask the nurse manager. We will put these by the ward entrance, she says. We will hand them out. We are telling you now, it is not disrespectful to ask who is touching your relative. It is your right. Chica picks up one card, turning it over. And if they vex, if they act like you are disturbing them because some of you do that, Ada gives a small, honest wince. Then tell us, tell me, tell matron, because anyone who is angry at being identified has forgotten why they are here. The older woman on the bench sighs, palms pressed together. All my life, she says slowly, we were taught, don't question the nurse, don't question the doctor. They know more than you. But we know our people, too. We know when something is off. Yes, Ada says, and we need that. Chica's eyes glisten with frustrated tears. So what happens now? To that man, to the people who allowed him, you will just say, we are sorry and continue? The matron doesn't flinch. The HR liaison who bypassed protocol has been removed from staffing duties and placed under investigation. The agency is being reviewed. Our badge system is being audited. We cannot undo what happened. We can only make it harder for it to happen again. And if I didn't shout, Chica presses, if Nurse Ada didn't listen, if that scanner didn't make noise that night, we would not be sitting here. No, Ada agrees, we might not. The honesty lands heavy, but it is real. Chica exhales shakily. So you see why I can't just forgive and smile. No one is asking you to, Ada says. We are asking you to keep doing what you did. Watch, ask, demand answers. If you don't like what you hear, refuse. The man from bed 10 nods slowly. Next time anyone comes with drip, I will ask them, what is your name? Show me your card, even if they look at me like I'm crazy. Good, the matron says. Look at us like we are human, not gods. Humans can make mistakes. Humans can be wrong. Humans can lie. That is why systems exist. And when systems fail, your eyes, your questions, they become the last system. For a moment, the room is silent. Then Chica speaks, voice softer now. My brother is still here. He is getting better. For that, I'm grateful. But I'm also angry that it took all this for you to see the hole in your wall. We are angry, too, at ourselves, at the holes, at how easy it was for someone to walk through. The matron leans forward. We want you to hold us accountable, not just with complaints when things go bad, but with questions when things look almost wrong. Chica tucks the laminated card into her bag. I will, she says, and not just here, any hospital I enter from now. They stand to leave. At the door, Chica pauses. Nurse Ada. Ada looks up. Thank you for listening that night, Chica says. You could have told me to keep quiet. You didn't. Ada nods. throat tight. "Thank you for shouting," she replies. As the door closes behind them, the ward noise swells back in. The quiet room returns to being just a white box with benches and buzzing light. But something has shifted. Trust is not repaired. Not yet. Maybe not fully. But for the first time since the scanner screamed red, staff and relatives have looked each other in the eye and admitted the same thing. Safety is not a gift given from above. It is a net they have to weave together, thread by difficult thread. Weeks slide by. The ward doesn't miraculously transform. The beds are still too close together. The ceiling fans still complain in slow circles. The generators still grumble under the building like tired beasts. But if you pay attention, you notice small, deliberate changes. On the wall by the entrance, a new poster hangs, bright and clear. Know who is caring for you. Below, those same 3 questions from the laminated cards. What is your name and role? Can I see your hospital ID? Who is your supervising nurse or doctor? At the bottom, if you are not comfortable, ask to speak to the nurse manager. Beside the poster, a small notice board lists names and photos of the staff on duty for that shift. Nurses, doctors, orderlies. Under each, their ID number, their role. In the ward, lanyards glint under fluorescent lights. Badges used to be background noise, swallowed by fatigue. Now they are small, constant checks. Relatives glance at them before handing over medicine bottles. Nurses tap them lightly before opening doors, listening for that confirming beep. One afternoon, a young man in a new uniform walks into the ward, carrying a file. He heads toward a patient's bedside, but before he gets there, a woman steps into his path. "Excuse me," she says, "who are you?" He blinks. "I'm the new temp from agency." "Your name and role," she repeats. He shifts awkwardly. "Ah, my name is Femi, healthcare assistant." She holds out her hand, ID. He hesitates, then shows his badge. She scans it with her eyes, then turns to the nurse station. "Nurse, is this person on your staff list?" she calls. "I've not seen his face before." Ada looks up, smiles slightly. "Yes," she answers. "Femi is on today's roster. We just finished orientation with him. Thank you for checking." The woman nods, satisfied, and steps aside. Little moments like that, scattered across days, begin to stitch a new normal. In the IT office, Zainab sits with a team going through a spreadsheet of all existing badges. "Delete," she says, pointing at one. "This one belongs to someone who left last year. Deactivate and archive." She points at another. "This one has no proper name attached. Find out why or shut it off." Admin accounts are reduced, passwords changed. Audit alerts are set to ping her whenever a badge is reactivated or used in an unusual way. It's not perfect, but the system is no longer running on autopilot. In HR, the door to Sammy's small office stays closed. His desk is cleared. His file sits in a thick folder on the HR head's table, waiting for a disciplinary panel. Temp Care's name disappears from the whiteboard of approved agencies. New contracts drafted now include strict ID requirements, penalties for incomplete documentation, mandatory orientation for every person walking into a ward. In the CMD's office, Dr. Salami signs a memo. Subject: strengthened staff verification protocols and patient empowerment measures. The language is polished, careful, legal, but in the wards, it translates into something simple. Ask, check, confirm. One evening, Chika returns to the hospital not as a full-time visitor, but for a follow-up appointment. Her brother Uche walks beside her, thinner than before, but upright, breathing the outside air with a new appreciation. They pass the ward entrance. Chika pauses, reading the poster again. She smiles, just a little. "You see?" she nudges her brother. "They wrote what I was shouting that night. They even printed it." He chuckles. "So you are now policy." "Better for them," she says. "Next time they should just hire me as consultant." As they walk past the nurse station, Ada sees them and waves. Look who is no longer stealing my bed space, she teases, patting Uche's arm. He grins. I prefer my own bed, a beg. They talk for a few minutes. Small things. Work, recovery, the new posters. Chica's eyes drift to the medicine cabinet at the end of the ward. Does it still scream if it doesn't like somebody? She asks. Ada follows her gaze. The cabinet sits in its glass frame, same as before. The scanner beneath the handle now has a small sticker. Authorized staff only. ID required. Ada walks toward it. Watch, she says. She takes her badge from around her neck and holds it to the scanner. A soft, clean beep sounds. The light blinks green. Click. The cabinet opens. She closes it again, then gestures to a junior nurse. Your turn. The younger woman laughs, nervous. Matron will shout if I spoil it. Scan, Ada insists. The nurse taps her badge. Beep. Green. Good, Ada says. Again. Now it's not just about getting medicine, it's about rehearsing a ritual of proof. Chica watches, arms folded. What if someone's badge shows red? She asks. Then they call me, or matron, or security. They don't stand there and laugh about system wahala anymore. She doesn't say Tunde's name. She doesn't need to. He lingers here as a lesson, not a ghost story. A reminder that a hospital's biggest weakness isn't the machines, but the people who'd rather believe everything is fine than admit otherwise. As they talk, an elderly man shuffles up to the station, hat in hand. Please, nurse, he says softly. The young man that came to change my wife's bandage, he showed me ID, but I forgot his name. I just want to be sure he is the right person. Ada smiles. What did the ID say? She asks. The man frowns, thinking. Chucks, I think. Healthcare assistant. Ada checks the Didi board, then the roster. Yes, she says. Chucks Okeke. He's on community health. You can let him work. The man sighs of relief. Thank you. I don't want story. None of us do, Ada says. Later, when the ward quiets again and night leans in, the scanner by the medicine cabinet glows faintly in the semi-dark. A nurse walks up, swipes. Beep. Green. Another tries with an expired badge someone forgot to turn in. The machine screams a long, unfriendly note. Red light flashes. This time, no one laughs it off. This badge is dead. Who was using it? They take it straight to the matron. In this hospital, the red light has a new meaning. It's not an inconvenience to work around. It's a voice saying, stop, check, someone doesn't belong. Outside, the signboard still promises quality care and professional staff. Inside, that promise now has witnesses, human and digital. The system is still under strain, resources are still thin, people are still overworked, but one thing is different. The blind faith that anyone in scrubs is safe is gone. In its place is something more uncomfortable but more powerful. Questions. Who are you? Should you be here? Who says so? And in this fictional hospital in Ikeja, those questions no longer feel like insults. They feel like life support. Because here, after one man's badge refused to scan, everyone learned a simple, hard truth. Trust is not the absence of doubt, it's the habit of checking together.